Welcome to Lexington Public Library's Tales from the Kentucky Room podcast, where we explore Lexington's history and people. I'm your host, David Bryant, and in each episode, we will feature a guest who will share a piece of local history. Thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoy. Welcome back to the Tales from the Kentucky Room podcast. Today, I'm really excited to be talking to Sarah Hubbard. Sarah is the manager of the Kentucky Room at Lexington Public Library's Central Library. Welcome to the podcast, Sarah.
Thank you so much, David.
So today, Sarah is going to tell us about LPL's Kentucky Room digital archives and some exciting new developments with the collection. So let's get started. So, Sarah, I think listeners would enjoy hearing a little bit about you. Things like, how long have you been at the library? How did you develop your interest and skills in local history and genealogy?
Sure. I've been at the Lexington Public Library for over 24 years now. And in that time, what really got me started in genealogy and local history was my grandfather.
Okay.
So many years ago, I made the mistake at a family party of asking him some questions about our history, and he was so happy. And he pulled out a whole bunch of papers with the research that he had done in the 1980s going into his family and our grandmother's family history. And it ended up being a lot of fun, and it caught my interest. And ever since then, I started getting into it myself.
Yeah, it's amazing once you catch that bug for it, it's just kind of it just keeps going, right?
Yeah, it's a giant puzzle, and you are at the center of it.
So you're a little unusual in that.
Thank you.
Yes, it's a compliment. You wanted to be a librarian from a young age. That's correct.
Yes, I did.
So many librarians I know we kind of end up through another field, or we kind of end up at the library by accident. But what made you want to become a librarian at a young age?
Well, it might be shocking to learn that I was a nerdy child. And in middle school, I started volunteering at my middle school library. And when the books were shelved, I would get to chatting with a very patient, very lovely librarian at my school. And she talked about her experience of going to library school, and she would have gone through in the 70s. And she would talk about the things that she had learned. And one of the stories that I remember her telling was, at the time, in the 70s, the FBI was going into library schools to try to recruit librarians because they had realized that it's no good having a lot of information if you did not have a way of organizing it and keeping up with it. That never happened to me, but it sort of planted the bug in my mind of maybe this would be something that I enjoy, and it definitely is.
That's really cool. That's really interesting. It sounds almost like the beginning of like a screenplay or something.
Right.
So, okay, now to move on to our digital archive. And for people who don't know, can you just talk a little bit about what is a digital archive and what kind of things does one find there?
Sure. A digital archive is just an online collection of material. A lot of times it's curated from a collection of an organization. It can be as big or as small as the organization may focus on. Some archives are very focused on just one type of object or one area of the collection that they may especially want to highlight. Some of it may be like ours is a broader collection that's just intended to highlight various things in our collection for people to have access to all around the world. And our digital collection does not have any restrictions on access, although some do. Some are restricted to researchers or students.
Mm-hmm. And it's free.
And yes, our digital archive is free and accessible anywhere that you can get internet.
Yes. And I would say it's very much kind of a labor of love for a lot of people. A lot of employees at LPL have put in time and...
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Many, many hands have gone into making our collections work.
How did it start out? With just a few items and then it grew, or?
Yes. When I came into my current position, there had been discussion for a while that the library wanted to start creating a digital archive And of course, the first things is figuring out, well, how do you do this? What do you need for it? So it's everything from figuring out your hardware and your software that you're going to need to how to host it and figuring out what your budget is, all the logistics
Hmm.
can take a bit of time.
Yeah.
And so once we sort of settled on a product that we were working on, and then we had to figure out the product. And when we were going into our collection, figuring out most of our collection is more of a research collection. Much of our material isn't completely unique. It's published works, but that doesn't mean that they're available online.
Hmm.
So trying to find things, which the finding things in our collection was really easy to do.
Hmm.
It was narrowing it down to what we were able to do that were public domain and did not already exist online, and that really highlighted Kentucky and local history. That took a little bit more time, and then, of course, the process of it.
Is there an overall theme, topic, coverage for the archive?
We keep our theme pretty open.
Mhm.
We focus everything in there focuses on different aspects of Kentucky and local history, especially focused on Central Kentucky. Fayette County was and continues to be the main focus, but at one time, Fayette County was a third of present-day Kentucky, so
Mhm.
that can be pretty far-reaching.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, great. And so, what are some items in the collection that really stand out to you? What's
Oh,
most popular or unusual?
by far the most popular things that people look at on our digital archive, we have a really great collection of older Kentucky newspapers. And I say Kentucky newspapers because for a while, Lexington had the only
Hmm.
Kentucky newspaper, the Kentucky Gazette, and that covered a lot of news and a time period that we don't have a lot of records for.
Right.
So the Gazette and our directories collection, our local residential directories, also get a lot of get more attention online as well.
Okay.
So those are definitely the most used areas of our collection. We also get good usage. We have some really good local architecture books in there that go over a lot of different time periods. And in addition to the Gazette, we have several other newspapers in our collection as well that get a really decent amount of usage. One of our more interesting visual collections, we have the Elmer Foot Slide collection,
Mm.
which is a really great collection of photographs. And this is not just Lexington, this is all over Kentucky from Elmer Foot, who was a photographer for a Cincinnati newspaper. And at one point, he donated a lot of his Kentucky photographs, which were in the format of glass slides,
Mhm.
to the Lexington Public Library. And at one point, we managed to get those digitized because, of course, glass slides are very breakable. And so we wanted to make sure that we were able to preserve that. So these are all photos from the very early 20th century in Kentucky.
Mhm. Yeah, there's so many great images in the collection. The foot slides, there's postcards, and there's
One
photographs from Lexington. Sorry, I interrupted you.
Yes, one of our most unique collections was actually donated by a family member of a photographer, a professor at the University of Kentucky named Keller Dunn, and Keller Dunn had a specific interest in architecture. And so one of the things that he did was walk the streets of downtown Lexington at different points in the 1960s and again in the 1980s. And he would take pictures of the houses and the architectural details. And after he passed, his daughter donated the slides with these photographs to the Lexington Public Library, and we were able to digitize them and get them online, which is a not only a great snapshot of Lexington, but also showing changes over time.
Yeah, they're truly a nostalgic trip down memory lane, so to speak. I think they're really fun to look at. Okay, so the library recently acquired some new software that's going to help the archive reach more people more easily, and we're really excited about that. Can you briefly tell us about that?
Yes, we've gone big time now.
Okay.
We recently transitioned our archive to Content DM, which I don't expect anyone to know what that is, but basically, this it means that the content on our archive is much easier to find now, which is very exciting to us. And it means that people doing searches online will be able to find our content that way instead of having to go into our website in order to find the contents of our collection. So we're really excited at being able to reach a lot more people with the items and the information on our collection.
Yeah, we're pretty excited about that. So that's a good way to kind of lead us into this. I'd like if you could talk a little bit about the process, like walk us through a project from beginning to end. I mean, kind of an overview of it. Like what's involved?
Sure. So putting items up on a digital archive is definitely not only a labor of love, but it is also a huge many hands make light work, and we have a lot of team members involved in it. And it's everything involved from our IT department that makes sure that our content is up and fix anything that breaks. Our virtual services department makes sure that everything is accessible on our website. They build the website portion of it, and they also help us put up the content itself. And then the Kentucky Room staff, part of our process, we have to identify likely items in our collection. And then once we check them, make sure they're not already online, and then make sure that they are public domain.
Hmm.
Then we can go in, and after we physically scan the item and check the images, then we run them through software to pull out the keywords so that people don't just have a collection of pictures and instead can also search the items themselves.
Hmm. Yeah, it's a big process. And I think a lot of people are always amazed when they find out we have a virtual library department that handles things like our digital archive, our ebooks, our databases.
Yes.
Yeah. We talked about this little bit before your interview, and you said there's no way you could choose. But what are your favorite items in the
Oh,
collection?
you're making me choose a favorite child.
Yes.
Okay, I'll pick out a few different things that just have brought us joy over the years. One of my favorite projects that we're working on currently now is the Lexington Weekly Press was a weekly newspaper in Lexington, and we have them in physical form, and they're not online otherwise. We only have a few months up yet. We are currently working on getting more up. So that starts in 1881, and the newspapers we have, they're in really good shape, and so we're able to put them up, and it's really great seeing the gossip
Hmm.
over 100 years ago. Some other things in our collection that I really love having there, I'm gonna specifically mention we do have a local government documents collection, which has some really great content in there, Lexington ordinances and budgets and reports and stuff. But my favorite in there is the 1965 fallout shelter plan for the city of Lexington that they developed when we were in the middle of the Cold War. And probably also the Kentucky Progress is a really fun collection that we have. It started in 1928, great timing, to advertise. It was from the state government to advertise tourism and how great coming and visiting and spending money in Kentucky could be. So it goes through a lot of what would have been sightseeing things in the late 20s, right before the Great Depression hit. But they kept publishing it through the mid 30s, and there's some great articles and photographs in there.
Yeah, lots of amazing illustrations and photographs
Yeah.
in the Kentucky Progress magazines. I could spend hours looking through those. And people can download the pictures from the archive?
Yes, they can keyword search the images, they can, download the pages, they can email them,
Hmm.
share them on social media if you'd like, just to share with all your friends.
Yeah.
There's a lot of really great content on there that people will hopefully enjoy.
Yeah, absolutely. So, what are your goals? Do you have plans for the project? Where do you see it going?
More.
Yeah.
Um, we continually add content to our collection, which is great, mostly focusing on what we have in our Kentucky Room collection. However, one of the things that I love most that we created for the digital archive is the community collections. And these are just for organizations or individuals in Lexington with unique local content that they have the rights to, that they can lend us their materials. And if the content is in good enough shape and uniquely useful, then we digitize the images and give the items back to the individual. And these collections are literally one object to thousands of objects in size. So I think it's really great to be able to offer this to our community that they can potentially give access to the content to the entire community, but still maintain it themselves.
How do people access the archive?
Sure. The simplest way to get to it is if you go onto the library website and then go into the genealogy and local history area, then there is a direct link to it. You can also, as you're searching online for different content that might be in our collection, it will start showing up in Google searches as well. So there's multiple ways to get into it. But by all means, please come onto our website and check it out, browse around. It's a very browsable, clickable collection to look to see what we've got in there.
Yeah, and I think that would be a mistake after all this talk about our digital archive to not also bring up that we have a wonderful Kentucky room at the
Thank
Central
you.
Library. How do people reach you if they have research questions, if they want to make an appointment, visit the library, etc.?
Absolutely. You're welcome to drop by anytime. We're open all the hours that the library is open. If you want some focused help and you're local, you're welcome to come on in. You can make an appointment ahead of time if you want some one-on-one time with our staff. We do those regularly to help people navigate our collections or help learn certain collection types. You can also feel free to call us. Again, we're open anytime that the library is open. And we have an online information request form. You do not have to have a library card. It is open to everyone. So with different research questions, a lot of what we do might be pulling old newspaper articles from our local newspapers. We answer questions from people all around the world.
Yeah. Yeah, don't assume we don't have the information. No matter how obscure, we'll try to help you find it.
And if we don't have the information, we'll try to figure out where you may need to go for your next steps for your research.
And we also have some fun events coming up at the library. Sarah, do you want to mention a couple of those?
Yes, we have a really exciting author event that will be happening on Saturday, April 4th at Central. Author Wes Brown will be coming in to do a book talk and a signing.
Cool.
And our big event that I'm very excited about and everybody should come to is the Kentucky History and Genealogy Conference. We are hosting it this year here in Lexington at the Central Library, and this will be on August 7th and 8th.
Yes, that is going to be great. Multiple authors, historians, vendors.
People can come and they can learn about genealogy and history and research skills. And we are going to have some music events going on, and it's going to be a really great time.
Yeah, it's going to be lots of fun. Okay, well, Sarah, it's been great talking to you today and hearing about the Kentucky Digital Archive.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for being here.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for listening to Tales from the Kentucky Room, a podcast brought to you by the Central Library's Kentucky Room staff at the Lexington Public Library. If you enjoyed listening, please take a minute to subscribe, rate, and review the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever else you get your podcast. And please remember to recommend the podcast to friends. If you have any questions about local history or genealogy research, you can visit us in the Kentucky Room to use our collection and newspaper microfilm. Or you can email us at elibrarian@lexpublib.org. That's elibrarian@lexpublib.org. I'm David Bryant, and we'll be back with another episode next month.